Welcome into Clippers Talk. I'm Adam Osland. Good to be with you guys. I think. Congratulations to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, winner of the NBA's 2024-2025 Most Valuable Player Award. Well deserved. I said if I had a vote, while I wavered and went back and forth a lot, I would probably give it to him over Jokic, just because how many more games did they win? 18 than Denver. I understand he has the better team around him. There's a lot to sort through when you're making that decision. The Jokic numbers, the offensive rating with him versus without him on the floor, they go from being a great offense to worse in the league. Regardless, I probably would give Shai Gilgeous-Alexander the edge. SGA for MVP was a thing, a campaign. It happened. It's over. Can rip that Band-Aid off. But is it over? No, it's not. Because I think the Oklahoma City Thunder are likely to win the NBA championship right now. I picked them to. I had them winning this series against Minnesota in, 5 or 6 games. I think Minnesota's overmatched. I think their defense is far too good, far too effective at what they do, with just making life hell, and it's consistently there, executing all the time. Shots come and go. Your defense should be consistently great. They are. They're one of the best modern defenses ever. Ever. So we could have more pain upon us if OKC goes on to win the championship. That will be maximum pain. Max Pain was the video game, and I'm sure the shitty movie would go in reference to that. Here's what I really find painful. The people who do the engagement bait stuff with zero context of just how this trade came about in 2019. That's what bothers me. The engagement baiters, who all they do is throw up a graphic like this one from Eric Sklar, who is a Laker fan, a pretty annoying one at that. Good guy, bad fan. Or maybe he's a good fan if you're a Laker fan. Annoying fan if you're coming from the Clippers perspective. He goes aged like milk. So an uncreative, overused saying to match the overused graphic that is devoid and bankrupt of all context. The context being that the reason they made this move, trading all these first round picks for Paul George, trading SGA, Danilo Gallinari was also in the trade, was to get Kawhi. It was to entice and sway Kawhi to choose them, the reigning finals MVP. And I would say not just to get Kawhi to choose them because of how great he is as a player. It all ties in together, but it was a statement that the Clippers were finally a destination franchise. Someone of that level chose them in free agency. And the reason he did is because he thought they could win because they brought in Paul George, who was coming off his best season, where he finished third in MVP voting and was also top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year voting. He was legitimately a top 10 player in the league at that time. It was a pretty easy argument to make, regardless of what you think of Paul George now. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had a solid rookie season. He wasn't a top 10 pick in the draft. People weren't saying this is a future MVP at that time. Where did he end up going? 11th, I believe. Yes. And he had a rookie year with averages of 11 points per game, 48% shooting, 37% from 3, 3 boards, 3 assists in 27 minutes a night. We knew there was potential. I never heard one person say at that time that he had MVP potential. Potential to be looked at as the best player in the league. Potential to be a number 1 option on a championship winning team. Never heard that. Not once. You'll notice you won't find old takes exposed or anybody bringing up receipts where they're like, shouldn't have done it. SGA is going to be this level of star. What we said at the time, and this was still aspirational based upon what we saw that first year, was at best, he's an all-star. Maybe not every year, because how good the West is, especially with guards, but at best, he was headed towards being an all-star. That's it. That's all it was. That's not nothing. But credit SGA, the work ethic, the time he has put in, the mindset he has to be great. It is special. He is a perfect pro and a cornerstone and a building block for your franchise. And it now looks like he's going to lead a franchise to a championship. Yeah, of course. Mio said, my old Twitter account had all these don't trade Shai tweets. It got banned. Sure it did. All this revisionist history, all this low level, zero context, second guessing, Monday morning quarterbacking, it's all so played out and so tired and so uncreative. The truth is, if you have a chance to get 2 top 10 players in their prime in free agency or through a trade, you do it again. You do the same damn move again. If you have that same information, we think he could be an all-star versus we have a chance to get the finals MVP and a guy who finished top 3 in MVP in the regular season and Defensive Player of the Year voting, you do it again. That's called good process. Nothing is guaranteed. If Shai stays with the Clippers, does he get to this point? That's not guaranteed. Does Kawhi tear his ACL anyways, even if he's playing with Shai and the timelines don't work out to where Kawhi is still good enough with SGAs at this level and they still don't win a championship? Like, nothing is guaranteed. It is so painful I know right now. You are in the eye of the storm, of the shitstorm of pain, because you're watching him lead a team, a young team that could have a large window, possibly to a championship this year, possibly to a few championships. I get it. But I'm here to tell you what I have been saying for years is true. Every GM in the history of sports, and in particular the NBA in this case, makes that move in 2019. Everyone. That means it was good process. There was no first guessing. There was some, well, they had to give up a lot, but they're trying to win now, and this is the best chance they've ever had to win a championship. At worst, you got that. The media was heaping praise upon the Clippers for making that move. The same media now that is bringing up a graphic that is devoid of context just to show that, oh, they gave up all this for Paul George. No, they gave it up to get Kawhi. They need to get Paul George to get Kawhi. No one thought he'd be this good. And nobody thought we'd be at this point with the Clippers still not having won a championship in 2019. Even when they lost in 2020 in the bubble. So, cool. We got a ton of swings at this. You got them in their prime. I think Paul George was 28 and Kawhi was 27. If you have another chance to make a similar trade, you do the exact same thing again. Because, I don't know, 85% of the time it's going to work and you're going to get a ring out of it. The Clippers, unfortunately, due to bad luck, didn't. Should they have been able to predict in 2019 that Kawhi would tear his ACL in 2021 on their way to likely winning a ring? I think they were going to win the championship that year. Kawhi had just tasted the champagne. For everybody who wants to blame Kawhi, can you not see it from his perspective at all? Again, you didn't blame him when it happened in 2019. So this is all second guessing. And from Kawhi's point of view, it was, I just won. I want to try to go back to back and do it with two different teams. They weren't going to win that first year, wouldn't have a chance to with just SGA, I believe. Kawhi wanted to win immediately. You did whatever it would take to bring in the reigning finals MVP and the guy everybody at that time said, go back and look. Everybody that time said, this is the best player in the NBA. And that player chose the Clippers because they made that trade for Paul George. And now you want to say they shouldn't have done it? Well, that's convenient. Nobody said that the day it happened. I did a 3-hour show that day on AM 570. Took a ton of calls. Maybe I should pull that show at some point. Nobody said, oh, this was the wrong move. This is going to come back to bite us. It's going to age like milk. Kawhi's going to tear his ACL in the second round, taking a bad step against Joe Ingles. Oh, nobody said that. But people want to act like they shouldn't have done it now. That's crazy. You have to deal with the parameters and the knowledge you had then and make a decision. It was good process. Because if it happens again, if they have another chance to take a swing like that, you do it again. You do it all again. You can't judge everything just based upon the end result because you don't have the benefit of hindsight to begin with. That's a pointless way to operate. It's like if Luka Doncic ends up tearing up his knee for the Lakers and is never the same player, or just ends up having all those conditioning issues and, you know, he gains too much weight and he's no longer a top 5 player, top 10 player. He's like a top 20 player. Are you going to look back and say, well, the Lakers shouldn't have made that trade? They lost that trade. No, of course you make that trade. That's crazy. You have to judge the trade by the information they had on the day they made it. That's how you have to operate in these things. It's just annoying and frustrating right now because it's just the same thing over and over again with hearing people say. Fact of the matter is, we lost that trade, Adam. The analysis over whether or not they lost the trade isn't as important to me as the analysis of should they have made the trade to begin with based upon the knowledge they had. I'm concerned about whether or not they should have done it from day one, and it made all the sense in the world to do it. I judge things based off of that. Whether or not you want to say they lost the trade, well, SGA just won MVP. It looks like his team's going to win the championship. Yeah, I think that's pretty clear. But this wasn't something that was first guessed. This isn't, if you go to the Luka trade from Dallas's side, where everybody was initially guessing it, if they don't go on to win a championship with what they brought in, and the Lakers do, that deserves to be criticized much more because you knew on day one it was the wrong move. Nobody said that about the Clippers move with SGA going to OKC. That's how you have to grade things and evaluate things. Anything else is just time machine bullshit. Scott said we still make the trade 10 times out of 10, but the reality is we always knew the backside of the trade would leave us in a bad spot. Are they really in that bad of a spot? Like, they won 50 games with 37 games from Kawhi this season. You know how many teams would kill for that? That's how it typically is when you sign anybody to a long-term contract in sports. You're paying for the production the first few years. You know the end of the contract may not look as good once they're out of their prime. But I don't think the Clippers are in some miserable spot. You may feel miserable right now watching SGA, watching what's happening. Clippers losing in 7. You're still sour about that. I am too. I don't know if it's flamed out if you lose in 7 games, but it was disappointing. That's for damn sure. It was a very winnable series. They have a team that won 50 games when they only got 37 from Kawhi. They have a team that you could bring back the core parts, improve around the margins, and still be very good next season. They've had 14 straight winning seasons. No one's content with mediocrity. I don't think 50 wins is mediocrity. It's about what's realistic. What can you do? You're acting like they have some other option that guarantees them a championship or something. Oh, I'm aware that J-Dub was also one of the picks used, given to OKC by the Clippers. The question is, how do you maximize this time now? All right. Well, I hope you're back here. If I pull that receipt and he plays 50 plus games, because I think you're just being a doomer. There's a decent chance Kawhi plays more than 37 games next year since he got the offseason healthy for the first time since 2020. Anything can happen. Kawhi's health, you never know. But I also agree with this. I brought this up earlier. If the Clippers had never traded away SGA, he probably wouldn't have become the player he is today. He became the MVP he is now because of the journey he went through in OKC. In OKC, he ended up getting tutelage his first year next to CP3, which was invaluable. Dennis Schroeder probably helped him too. There's similarities in their games. And then those guys left. They were in complete rebuild mode. SGA could play 40 minutes a night. There's no guarantee that if SGA stayed, he would have became the same player. There's not. Sports are circumstantial. All that fostering and culture and who he played with all played a role in him getting to this point. Hey, I get people are down right now. That's why I want to come on here, be with you guys, offer my perspective on the trade, and why, yes, you can be filled with regret if you'd like, but I will point out that it was a smart move at the time. And all you can deal with is that time. You don't get to look down the road 6 years later. So I judge it upon that. And if the same opportunity presents itself where they can get a finals MVP in his prime coming to them and a top 10 player, you make the same move. Same exact move. It's all about good process. And the Clippers, they had that. They didn't get the result they wanted. But more times out of not, if you have good process, you will. That is the point. Nothing is a sure thing. That's why we watch. No particular set valid points, but to be fair, also the flip side on guarantees is that we don't know that he wouldn't have become that guy here. It's kind of built into my answer. There's no guarantees either way. It's a tough time right now, Clipper Nation. I know. Scott said, I guess it could be worse. Look at the Suns. There are other teams who swung and missed, and it looks like they're in a worse spot in many ways. I think the Clippers are in as good of a spot as they can be, maybe, considering all they gave up in that move. They have a cap situation that is very optimistic in 2026 and 2027. Like the only player I think on the books the summer of 2027 is Ivica Zubac. Now, I brought up the other side. It's hard and maybe impossible to get top tier superstars in free agency anymore. Teams are too smart to let them go for nothing. These are the younger entering or in their prime guys. So I think the future is bright in a lot of ways, and I think they're pretty good in the present. And we'll see what happens this summer. Maybe they do lean more towards a youth type movement. Maybe James Harden opts out and leaves, and you have $35 million to play with. Maybe they trade Kawhi. Maybe he goes to San Antonio, goes back there. I've seen all kinds of stuff. Who knows? But I think what they would like to do is run it back for the most part. Could Norman Powell be traded? Yes, of course. He is an asset. He is a guy that probably should get a 3 or 4 year extension, but maybe that doesn't work out with the Clippers timeline. I think this is a great point from Jamal Christopher. The fact that the Clippers are this good and this competitive speaks to how good the front office is. In all seriousness, the Clippers losing that trade the way they did, lost every draft pick and asset ever, a MVP, one star they got was often injured and not here anymore. The other one played less. Still, multiple 50-win seasons, a Western Conference Finals speaks to how good the front office is because the LA Clippers should be buried right now. We should be the Wizards or something. I'm not even trolling. Should not be coming off of back-to-back 50-win seasons. That's what I'm saying. Like they have maximized the front office, their potential. Maybe not potential because there've still been injuries and that's part of potential, but the things that are in their control since the SGA trade, they've been close. They have not made every right move. Nobody does, but they have been pretty close to maximizing and optimizing things, considering what they lost in the trade. Oh. It's just, I know nobody wants to hear it today. But maybe today is the day you need to hear it. So that's why I'm here. Tuca wants to butt in. A lot of trilling from these cats. Is that what it's called? Here's another good way to put it from Jamal Christopher. Tuca, back up. Every time OKC do anything, it's people judging a 2019 trade through a 2025 lens. You judge history in general through the lens of today. Things don't always look so good. Clips didn't want to move Shai. Knew since Summer League he'd be all-star caliber. No one projected MVP. Clips lost the trade. They made a move every GM in the NBA would have made in the summer of 2019. Congrats to Shai. Grant Mona said perfectly said. 2 top 10 players in the league in 2019. No GM in the NBA passes that up in history. How do I know that? Because Jerry West signed off on it. Late great Jerry West. Nobody's better than him. And he said that was a go. Every GM in history would have made the move. Jamal points out, like, he was not Wemby or Luka or even Trey as a rookie. If he was, the Clippers or anyone else wouldn't have done it. He didn't project as an MVP caliber player, and that's considering everyone from the front office to the fans knew he was going to be a really good player. Yes, all-star potential type player. The entire NBA was gassing the Clippers for what they pulled off in 2019, man. LOL. He turned out to be a MVP. If we knew that, he'd be here. Sucks, but as happens. Orange Frank won Executive of the Year in 2019, 2020 because he pulled it off. Yeah. You got to look at it from that time period of 2019 and what we were looking at then. The fervor to get Kawhi Leonard on your team coming off that NBA Finals. It was a crazy summer. Every team would have done whatever it takes. Here's a good one. Brother of Jamal, Justin, because like it's so low level, it's so cheap. It is just engagement bullshit clickbait. Legend of Winning said, "I'm sorry, but this is a worse trade than the Luka trade," using the same graphic. Justin said, "You people are stupid as hell and just trolling for clicks. I hate y'all." It's just disingenuous. It's garbage. To omit the part where they did it to get Kawhi Leonard is gross. But that's where we're at. Low level, no context, casual stuff. All right. I think I'm good. I don't know if I feel better or worse after doing this, guys. I got to be honest. It's always good to be with you guys. But are we going to be doing this again when OKC wins the championship? Are we going to have to be doing this, coping a therapy session because SGA led them to a championship and is now the finals MVP too? Oh boy. It's very, very likely. I know that's the maximum pain. It's all leading towards that for us, unfortunately, here. One day, Clipper Nation. One day, it will be our time. I believe that. Today's a tough one. Appreciate you guys. MKXLNT said it. The real championship is the friends we made along the way, not the treasure of the championship. Going through it together. I just thought I'd hop on for a little bit of a therapy session. I know everybody's feeling it. They're in their feelings, an emotional day. And I do want to reiterate congratulations to SGA with the player that he has become. He is a perfect superstar. Never saw him reaching these heights. What a badass. You know, he's a free agent the summer of 2027. He won't be a free agent. He could get an extension for $400 million before then. Things would have to go horribly wrong for that to happen. It looks like everything's coming up roses for them. Build a hell of a squad. But again, bottom line, did you get a chance to take a swing like that? Doing the trade over again. It's about good process. Good process eventually leads to good results. I know some people just want to say, no, you can only judge it off the result. Sometimes you can do that. I think when you first guess something, like Nico Harrison trading Luka, they don't get the result. They don't win a championship or two to make up for trading Luka in Dallas. Well, all that criticism day one is going to be even louder then. There just wasn't any criticism day one when the Clippers really traded to get Kawhi. Technically, he wasn't involved in the trade. They made the trade to convince him to come to the franchise. I don't fault moves like that. Don't live like that. I look at what the logic and rationale and thought process was going into the move. I graded it on that day. I don't grade it 6 years later. You can say, yes, they lost the trade now. Sure. Question is, should they have known that in 2019? And the answer is no. They should have known all these things were going to happen. That SGA was going to turn out to be this good. That Kawhi was going to tear his ACL. Things outside of your control. I don't judge people on that stuff. All right. Appreciate you guys listening to me rant. I've been checking out the comment section. Got a game tonight. Does not involve OKC. I'm still enjoying watching ball, even though it was painful. The Clippers being out of it early. I am. And I think we'll have an episode coming up on Friday with Lauren Rosen here, where we will talk about what we've learned in the playoffs, watching these other teams and watching the Clippers. What have we learned in the playoffs? What can help us moving forward? Understanding what the needs are of this Clippers team. So Lauren Rosen, scheduled to be on Friday. I'm Adam Moslin for Tuca. I'm Adam Moslin. Signing off here on Clippers Talk. Appreciate you guys.